This is not the first time that I pick up something really special at the scrapyard, only to get home to see that it has an issue. This is an Intel Pentium III. It is the fastest Pentium III Intel ever released. It's running at 1.4 gigahertz, has 512 kilobytes of level 2 cache, runs at a bus frequency of 133, and has a core voltage of only 1.45. This is a Tualatin, but not any Tualatin. This is stepping B1, and this is the most refined core Intel has ever released. I have another one here. I picked this one up as well, and if you look at the 5-letter and digit number here on the top, the model number, this is the SL5XL. This is stepping A1. This is stepping B1. So technically, they are both the same model, but this one most likely overclocks better. So if you want to try to overclock a Tualatin to higher frequencies, better to go with a B1 stepping. Now, what's the issue with it? There's a pin broken off here in the top corner, and this really hurts. So a quarter of the pad is left. This is a VID pin, so it is actually responsible for picking the voltage. Now, I checked, and as far as I can tell, we should remain within safe voltages even without this pin, and we could even run the CPU at the 1.45 volts. This is a voltage that is still supported with this pin missing, but I don't know. I'll put the pin out on the screen right now here. So it's the top right corner here. It's the second pin on the outer row, and I still have some other pins that I need to straighten. I hope none of the others is breaking off, at least in this corner. This is all for voltage selection. What I will do now is I will straighten all these pins, and then we'll try the CPU in a motherboard. I will configure it at the voltage that the CPU is supposed to receive, and let's see if it still works. So yeah, this is what we're going to do today. And my first task right now is to straighten the pins, but we're not going to look at this. I will do this off camera. You have seen me straightening pins all the time. Now, while I'm sitting under my microscope and bending these pins, let's have a look at another SL6BX. This is also stepping B1. It's a 1266 model, but this one is definitely not fixable because, well, this one has even more pins broken off, and yeah, this is definitely not recoverable. I already stole the capacitors here to save another CPU. This was cracked on a Celeron 1200. I took one of these capacitors and made it work, so that's great. But now let's have a look at the silicon that's behind or underneath this heat spreader. So yeah, this is how a Tualatin looks like without the heat spreader, and this is quite heavy actually. Okay, the pins are straight. Now we can see this processor again in good shape. However, there was another pin that disconnected almost. I had to use a hot air station, maybe you can see it here, to reattach it. Luckily, it didn't tore off the pad. Not like this one. This one here is still an issue. Now, before I attempt to repair this, let's actually see if we need this pin. I didn't consider that it wouldn't make any difference to the CPU. So let's have a look at the pinout and verify one more time that this is actually VID2. And then we look at the voltage definition table, basically the binary code that is being sent to the VRM on the motherboard to deliver the correct voltage. So let's have a look at the Tualatin. This is for Celeron specifically, but it is the 130 nanometer process. So this is for our Tualatin cores, and here is our voltage identification definition. And our chip is rated at 1.45 volts. So let's have a look at 1.45 volts. And we know that it is VID2, so this pin. And here is a 1. What does a 1 mean? So 0 means processor pin connected to ground, so it's pulling the signal down to ground. And 1, open on processor, may be pulled up to TLL on baseboard, so on the motherboard. So that means this pin is actually not required at all. So we are lucky that this pin doesn't have any function on this processor. Even if you would connect it back, it doesn't make a difference. So luckily, or let's see if the CPU works, but luckily it looks like this is not an issue. Now, since this voltage definition is inside the CPU, we can't change it. It never is going to change. This is just what's hard-coded inside the CPU die. So in our case, I'm not going to attempt to repair this. Most likely it will not even be successful, because how do you even fix this properly? If I put epoxy glue there, like let's say I prepare the entire pad, I take a donor pad, I make the cutout that it fills the remaining area, put solder mask, then put epoxy and so on. The moment I place this in a socket, there is so much physical stress on the CPU when you close the socket that I have a feeling it is not going to be permanent. So yeah, this is very fortunate that this pin is not required, but now we need to figure out if this CPU is working. Okay, the Tualatin is in a system. It's my ASUS P3B-F. Now, you might be thinking, that's not possible, that is not compatible. I'll show you that a Tualatin can run on a 440BX chipset. Ha, I get postcodes! And I think we're in business. Yes! We have our Pentium III's at 700 MHz. Now on the ASUS P3B-F, you control the voltage completely in the BIOS. It gets a suggestion, in this case 1.5 volts. This is actually what is configured on the CPU right now. This, I can't tell you yet what's going on, but this will come very soon. If you want to not miss this, please subscribe to my channel. Let's go with 133 MHz frontside bus. This is the default that this CPU runs at. And we should get 1400 MHz on the ASUS P3B-F. And we get 1400 MHz. How nice is that? Okay, and we are in Windows. And we have our Tualatin Intel Pentium III's at 1.47 volts. Here is the full specification, and here is the B1 revision or stepping. Well, revision actually. I maybe said stepping before, but it's B1. So this is a processor that is supposed to be the final revision of this core. Very refined, the best Intel had to offer. And here's our mainboard. So it's the ASUS P3B-F. And it has a modified BIOS to support this CPU, of course. We have 256 megabyte of memory. And let's run a benchmark. And we get 2,328 points for the CPU and 10,000 points for the FPU. Now, I will try something, because maybe you haven't liked this video yet or didn't subscribe to my channel. Now I want to convince you. We will run 150 megahertz frontside bus now on this chip. Let's see if it's stable and works. No, it doesn't. Maybe we have to bump up the voltage a little bit. Okay, we went into BIOS recovery. Let's try 1.65 volts. Hey, 1575 megahertz. How awesome is this? Let's see if it's stable. I don't know. I never tried this specific chip to get into Windows. The HEP bus is now clocked at 100 megahertz. Yeah, but now we are running a Tualatin Pentium III's, which is normally clocked at 1400 megahertz, at 1575 with a bus frequency of 150. And I'm still on my ASUS P3B-F. So yeah, if you want to know how this is possible, subscribe and like the video. Now, of course, before we go, I want to see if the CPU is actually stable. And I can see that we are running only at 1.6 volts. So I think the ASUS power VRM is a little bit lower than it says it is. So 1.6 volts is absolutely not an issue for the CPU. But for testing this chip, I need to change the graphics card. And the card I'll be using is this one. A3DFX Voodoo 3 3000 Special Edition. First of all, it's a PCI card. It has a universal PCI slot for 3.3 volts as well as 5 volts. So this is interesting. But also it's the SGRAM model. You will not believe I picked this up last week at the scrapyard. I went to the scrapyard 2 weekends in a row. And yeah, the first time I picked up so many goodies and I wanted to go one more time because I felt like I missed something, and I found this card. So here's another nice pile. Unfortunately, the owner is nowhere. I spoke to some people around here. Maybe I can get it, but yeah, I've seen this one here. So I'll definitely figure out how to get this one. There might be more interesting stuff in here, but I don't want to upset anybody going through this. Yeah, so I'll be putting this into my system now, running a Tualatin 1575 with this Voodoo 3 3000. Okay, let's have a look at this beautiful post screen one more time. Well, now we have the Voodoo 3 3000 in there. And our Pentium 3 1575. Let's run benchmarks now because, well, we had the previous score. We had... Okay, so we had 2,200, 2,300. Now we have 2,633 and 11,333. Now let me jump into Unreal. Okay, our graphics card works. HEP cards will have a tough time with the setup because we are running at the bus frequency of 150. You need proper memory, you need a good board. The ASUS P3B-F is a really good board and known for its stability. The memory is so important, and well, you need an exceptionally good HEP graphics card if you want to attempt this. I don't want to try this right now. I don't know which card in my collection is capable of running at 100 MHz frontside bus. That is why I switched to the Voodoo 3 3000 PCI, and I could show it off as well. Why not? I'm pretty sure we are bottlenecked by the Voodoo 3 and the PCI bus. But man, we are getting 200 frames per second.
Red leader, I've got your back.
Okay, so 100 frames, 150.
Under heavy attack.
Well, so far so good. Now, unfortunately, 150 megahertz is the absolute maximum I can set on this board, and I'm not sure if it would actually go higher or not. But I have a feeling we are maxing out the system. We are by far out of spec. Okay, 5 minutes play on Unreal Tournament. System is stable. How cool is that? 150 megahertz frontside bus. I have to say this again. The CPU V-core is 1.6 volts right now. And yeah, our CPU temperature is at 50 degrees. 46, 50. So I'm very happy that this B1 stepping of the CPU works. It is more difficult to get an A1 stepping to this frequency for sure. Maybe I could even reduce the voltage a little bit further, maybe at 1.55 volts. So we're only 0.1, 0.15 volts above stock voltage. And that is absolutely not an issue for this processor. Okay, so if you want to know how I got this Tualatin working on this ASUS P3B-F, then subscribe to my channel. It will come within the next months. Unfortunately, I cannot promise when I will release it, but it is going to be released and it will be awesome. So if you don't want to miss this, please subscribe like the video, and well, if you want to support the channel, head over to Patreon, become a member here on YouTube, or buy me a coffee. All of these options help this channel to continue this awesome journey in retro hardware. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to all the people who are supporting this channel already, and I hope to see you in the next videos. Take care and bye-bye.